Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all well. So in this video I wanted to talk about the dreaded interview and how we can turn it from something that a lot of people fear to something that we can look forward to. The way that we're going to structure this video is to talk about 5 tips that we can do before, during and after the interview. So the first tip to do before the interview is to research the company. In the day and age that we live in, this is so easy to do. You can either look on the company website, you can look on their social media accounts, you can even look on Google and see what kind of content comes up. Me being a video lover, I like to YouTube the company as well and see what kind of content they're pushing out, and also being able to see what kind of commentary other people are saying about the company as well. So the second tip that I have before the interview is to research the interviewers themselves. When you're invited for an interview, you'll be told who's going to be interviewing you, so definitely look them up on LinkedIn and see what you can gather from their career history. A funny story that I have about this is that when I was interviewing someone, I remember the interviewer on the panel list with me felt really offended that the interviewee didn't look them up on LinkedIn beforehand. The third tip that I have before the interview itself is to plan your journey. Use Google Maps, use TfL Planner, plan the way that you're actually going to get to the interview itself because you don't want to be having this stress on the actual day. The fourth tip that I have before the interview itself is to practice. Prepare interview answers and try to practice them with a friend. The old analogy of fail to prepare, prepare to fail definitely comes to mind. In terms of how to answer the interview questions themselves, use the STAR model, whereby you talk about the situation that you were in, the task at hand, the action that you took, and the result that this had. And my fifth and final tip before the interview itself is to practice confidence and mindfulness techniques. You definitely want to be in the right state of mind before the interview, so try and do as many of these as you can, as often as you can, before the interview. So now let's talk about 5 tips that you can do during the interview itself. So my first tip in this section is to use your research. You've seen the job description, you've done research on the interviewers, you've done research on the company, you have all these trump cards in your pocket, don't be afraid to use them. Tip number 2 is to state what the company benefits first and then what you benefit. For example, it can be really tempting to say something like, yes, I really want this job because I want to develop my social media skills. That's all good and well, but actually what the interviewers want to see first is what the company can benefit from and then what you can benefit from. So for example, you might want to rephrase that answer to be something like, I really want to take the brand to the next level as well as developing my social media skills. So my third tip during the interview itself is to talk in a positive and personal way. Naturally, not all situations at work are going to be smooth sailing, but try to talk in a positive way whereby you're showing yourself in the best possible light. Also, talk in a personal way whereby you're using the word I more than we because they're interviewing you and they want to find out more about your contributions and your achievements. My fourth tip for during the interview is to try to exhibit positive body language. Be strong, be confident, be happy. It can be very easy to see an interview as an intimidating situation, but try to reframe your thinking into one that sees the interviewer as the lucky one to be interviewing you. And always remember that you're an equal and you're on the same level playing field as the interviewer itself. So don't be intimidated by the situation and sail through the interview with ease using positive body language. And my fifth and final tip for during the interview itself is to make yourself unforgettable. You can do this either through the clothing that you wear, as well as the conversation that you have with the interviewer. On this point, it's really useful to remember that all an interview is at the end of the day is just a chat with another human being, so make sure that it's a positive, good and unforgettable one. So now we're on to our final section, 5 tips to do after the interview. The first tip is to ask questions. After the interviewers have finished asking you some questions, they'll give you the opportunity to ask them some questions, so make sure you prepare some really good questions to ask them. This could be questions about the interviewers themselves, it could be questions about the role, it could be questions about the company. Make sure that you prepare some really good questions so that the interviewers know that you really care about the job at hand. The second tip is to be patient. They may take a few days to a few weeks to get back to you, so be prepared for this and try to remain calm and patient throughout. The third tip is don't get disheartened if it's a no. It can be really disappointing not getting a job that you really wanted, especially if the interview went really well, but try not to take it personally, and if you haven't been given any feedback, make sure that you request it. The fourth tip after an interview is to learn and improve. Whether you get a yes or a no at an interview, the experience itself is really valuable and really useful, so make sure that you're growing and learning from it, and at the next interview that you do, whenever it will be, you will absolutely smash. And my fifth and final tip after the interview is to negotiate. It can be really tempting to just want to say yes as soon as the interviewers call you to say that they would like to offer you the job, but always try to negotiate to see if you can get a better package. And there you have it. Thank you very much everyone for watching this video on interview skills and techniques. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any recommendations that you'd like to share, then please feel free to leave them in the description box below, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video.